Welcome everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Actually workshop, sorry, today's workshop on course selection. I'm so happy that you could all join us. My name is Meredith. I'm one of the academic advisors here today. I'm also joined with Anna, Brenna, and Jennifer. We're all academic advisors here at Woodsworth College Registrar. So, what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to introduce to you who we are as academic advisors, who we are at the registrar office. We're going to talk a little bit about the workshops, what'll take place. Um, Actually, I might as well start with that. So, in today's session, we are going to show you how you can take your plans for program enrollment and put it into building your timetable. So if you have questions about programs, how to choose courses, what tools you're supposed to use when you're supposed to enroll in courses, stick with us. And by the end of the 1 hour session, we're going to get to that. So today's session is actually 1 hour and 30 minutes. So the first hour is mostly me talking. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to go into our admission categories, and there'll be a time for Q&A. And then we'll come back and do a little wrap up, okay? So for anyone who's watching, stick around. Now, let's talk about who we are at Woodsworth College Registrar Office. So Woodsworth College is your home base within the Faculty of Arts and Science. If you have any questions now or in your first year, second year, third, even like all the way through, as academic advisors, you can send us emails, you can call us, but you can also meet with us one-on-one. We're here to help you with finding resources, help you navigate the university, but also to answer questions about programs, courses, what options you might have. Sometimes it's hard to just distinguish what kind of options there are at different points in the semester. So we're always welcome. We always love to hear your questions. The sooner the better, because the sooner you reach out to us, usually the more options we have available to you, okay? So the other thing I want to highlight is um, just some things uh, within some resources. As we talk about resources, one of them is actually this Welcome to Woodsworth resource. You're all already enrolled. If this is the first time seeing it, you can log in, go to right here, there's the URL right at the top, q.utoronto.ca. And if you log in there with your join ID or your UTOR ID, you can see the full module. So we have all kinds of information. Right here, right at the top, is our workshop and Q&A schedule. So as you can see, we've already had some workshops. One is on different services that are available here at the university. We had accessibility services join. We had someone from Woodsworth Writing Center join, someone from Arrive Ready. Then workshop 2 was about those big picture goals that we're working towards in our degree, what the degree requirements, and we talk about first year learning opportunities. So you can watch the recordings here. And then we have a bunch of other workshops as well, one on finances and preparing for your first term. But yeah, so that's the modules. The other thing I like to highlight here is sometimes you might feel like there's so much that you need to do in these next few months, and it might be hard to really figure out what those things are. The summer to-do list, I think, is super helpful because we consolidate a lot of those actions by month, depending on where you're at. So right now, activating your UTOR ID is a good idea. Maybe getting your T card, applying for financial aid if it's needed. For our international students, paying your admission deposit, applying for post-secondary study permit, maybe visiting the Center for International Experiences website, just because there's a lot of resources there. You do have a little bit more, some more administrative tasks, and just understanding the whole process might be helpful. So checking out that as well. I also want to highlight registering with accessibility services. So if in the past you've used any sort of accommodations or used accessibility services in the past, you might not even feel like you need it right now. That's okay. Sometimes just registering for it is helpful, even if you don't intend to necessarily use it, because if you have it set up in the cases where you might really benefit from using it, then those services are there kind of as a safety net and whatnot. So July 14th is that date to register. So if you want it to have it. Um, oh, and if I saw someone raise their hand, just know if you have questions, we'll save it into the end. Just mark them down. We'll definitely have a moment for you at the end to ask for questions, okay? Um, then yeah, I think that's, and then maybe participating in Arrive Ready. Arrive Ready is a really good resource as well that's led by the Faculty of Arts and Science. You have opportunities to talk with upper year mentors. You get the opportunity to join weekly sessions and then to participate in a preparation, like a little prep course based on your admission category. I know the math pump is part of it. So if you intend to take some math courses, that one is really helpful for preparing for math because math does tend to be quite hard in first year. So I like to highlight Arrive Ready. So yeah, take a look at that. Another great thing to keep in mind is accessibility services also has some orientation. Um, Actually, let me just highlight all kinds of different orientations. So Woodsworth has its own orientation that I hope you can join. It'll be uploaded here. Information, it's still right now we're in the planning stage, so there's not information, but in July, more information will be there. Then we also have some really great orientation across campus. So here is some information about sessions and orientation for accessibility services. So August 18th and 19th is that one. August 18th is all about what the process is for registering. August 19th is about the different resources, not just within accessibility services, but also across the campus. So sometimes it's nice to just meet more people too. It's an opportunity for that. And then I like to highlight these orientation events as well, because we all have our communities that we feel that are kind of going through the same experiences as us. And it might be nice to meet people in similar communities. So transfer student orientation, Black student orientation, queer orientation, Indigenous student orientation, orientation with people with families and mature students. So all of these students, oh, and if you belong in any of these, feel free to just reach out. But okay, I think that is a lot of what I wanted to highlight here. I'll just take a quick moment. Let's get back to our main slide. Okay, so now we're here. Okay, so I'll just, there we go. So we already kind of went over the summer to-do list. The other upcoming really important event dates to highlight here is course selection. So that is kind of what we're all here for, course enrollment. So July 17th is a really important date for course enrollment if you're in your first year. That's when you'll get your first opportunity. Course enrollment is first come, first serve. So if you have specific courses that you want to take, July 17th is a key one. Just a quick note, upper year transfer students, if you're coming in with more than 4 credits, you might have a different date. So July 14th is if you have 4 to 8.5 credits. July 9th is if you have 9 to 13.5, and July 7th is if you have more than 14. But the majority of you are probably first year students with coming in maybe with 1 or 2 credits. In that case, the majority of you are logging in. Logging in to enroll on July 17th. If you're unsure, or maybe you're wondering, what time on July 17th should I actually log in? Well, July 1st is also a really important day because that's the day you log into ACORN to find the date and time of when to do your course enrollment. Because you're going to be given a specific time window. I also like to highlight July 25th because that's when general enrollment period opens. If you're not sure what general enrollment period or priority enrollment period is, don't worry, we'll get into that. It's just we'll cover that closer to the end, okay? So I'm going to be covering a lot of different things in today's session, okay? You might want to make notes. You might just want to just be here for the ride, that whatever is okay. Just know that there is a course enrollment checklist that's in Quercus. Here's a QR code. The checklist really guides you through all of the steps and helps you prepare and keep all those factors you need to keep in mind when you're building your timetable. Just a quick recap from workshop two. Workshop two was covering degree requirements. There are certain requirements you need to complete when you graduate from Honors Bachelor of Arts, Honors Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Commerce. Right now, these are the requirements for Honors Bachelor of Arts, Honors Bachelor of Science. Bachelor of Commerce students, yours are very similar with some minor tweaks. But the big thing I want to highlight here that really pertains to today's workshop is the program requirements. Your degree requirements stipulate that you need to pick one specialist, two majors, and one specialist or two majors, or one major and two minors, okay? So you need to pick programs. This happens at the end of your first year once you achieve 4 credits, which is usually at the end of first year if you're doing a full-time basis. Now, so that means you're not in a program right now. You're in an admission category. When I talk about admission categories, that's like computer science or life science, humanities, social sciences, Rotman Commerce, computer science, okay? Those are math and physical sciences as well, okay? Those are admission categories. They are not programs. One thing I want to highlight here is when you apply for programs, not all of them are there. Not all of them allow for automatic enrollment. Some do, some are open, but some are limited. And with those limited programs, you need to complete specific courses, maybe sometimes get specific grades, and sometimes there might even be additional requirements. Some may have an interview or an audition or something. The big thing is finding out what those requirements are within the academic calendar. And don't worry, that's part of today's process. I'll walk you through that, okay? So when we're doing our first year course selection, here are some goals. So the big one that I keep talking about is making sure you fulfill the enrollment and completion requirements for your program. You don't want to get to the end of your first year and realize there was a course that you forgot, okay? So doing the research right now helps you make sure that you keep your options open, that you're able to apply to the programs that you want to apply to or enroll into. The other thing is you might have some programs in mind and you might look at their 200 level courses and notice that there's prerequisites for taking those courses. So you want to look at upper year courses and see what kind of 100 level courses you might want to take. What kind of prerequisites are needed for those courses for second year? Maybe you want to satisfy some breadth requirements. Breadth requirements are another one of your degree requirements. Again, if you're not sure what those are, stick with me. I'll explain that later in the session. And then also in your first year, I hope you give yourself the allowance to explore your interests. Some of you may know exactly what programs you have in mind, which is great. Some of you might still be exploring, which is also totally okay. Some of you might be surprised by what you find, or you might take a course, like maybe you have economics on, like you're really expecting to love economics because you loved it in high school or at your other institution. But then you take it here and you realize it's different than what you expected. It might be whatever. Just know that in first year, it's okay to make changes. It's okay to explore. We have 700 programs here at the University of Toronto, and the majority of those are within like 300 to 400 are within the Faculty of Arts and Science. So it's hard to know all of those programs right now. And so you might take a course and be surprised that you love something. So just be open to that exploration piece, okay? So just a reminder about program enrollment. We're in our admission category. We apply for programs after 4 years. So our action items for right now, find 3 to 4 programs in the academic calendar. Remember, not all those programs allow for automatic enrollment. There's open programs and limited programs. So it's good when you're doing your research in the academic calendar to find out whether or not your programs are open or limited. And whether they're open or limited, check those enrollment requirements. Enrollment requirements are the courses you need to take to enroll into the program, or the requirements. It could, maybe it's just that you need to complete 4 credits. Completion requirements are the courses that you need to take in order to graduate, in order to complete the program. And that's just courses you need to take by the time you graduate, okay? That's important to check too, because open programs, it might allow for automatic enrollment, but there may be some 100 level courses that are recommended to take in your first year. So checking that is super helpful as well. So this is the course of today's session. We're going to start with just looking at programs, noting their requirements, making a full list of the courses that you need to take for those program enrollment. Then we're going to build a list of electives to fill out your course load. We're going to talk about how you can determine what a good course load is for you. We're going to go into Timetable Builder so I can show you how to actually build that timetable. And then lastly, we're going to enroll in ACORN. Well, actually, we're not going to enroll in ACORN. We're going to talk about how you can enroll in ACORN, okay? Okay, so step 1, let's make a list of programs. When I talk about programs, I find it really helpful to share an example of a student, okay? So I'd like to introduce you all to Misha. Misha was admitted to the social sciences admission category. They're not sure what they want to study yet, but they've looked through the academic calendar and they're really drawn to psychology, human geography, and chemistry. So there's a few things as an academic advisor that I like to note here. One is the fact that there's no open programs. I know already that these are all limited. We like to encourage students to always have an open program in mind, 1 or 2, just in case you don't get into the program. So it just keeps the options open, okay? So that's one thing I would highlight to Misha. The other thing I would highlight is that they're in the social sciences admission category, but they're wanting to get into chemistry. The requirements for the chemistry courses are science courses, and as a social science student as a student in the admission category of social sciences, they may not have priority access to the courses for chemistry. Which brings me to the point, some of you might think you're only stuck to your admission category or the programs. That's not true. If you want to take courses outside of or programs outside of your admission category, you most certainly can. It's just you may not get priority access to those. So what I would tell Misha is definitely still go towards that chemistry program if you have that genuine interest. Just know that you'll have to enroll into those courses in the general enrollment period. Again, that'll become clearer as we go along, okay? So the action items I'm going to tell Misha to do is let's go through the academic calendar. Let's find out if your programs are open or limited. I already gave a clue. They are limited, but still, let's look and see. What are the enrollment requirements? And what are the 100 level courses that are listed in the completion requirements? And then in some cases, there might be multiple courses for enrolling. There might be multiple courses to choose from to complete those enrollment requirements. So in those cases, what I encourage Misha to do is just circle those requirements. And that signals to us that there's some more research that we need to do specifically for those courses, okay? Okay, let's start with the psychology major. So this is how the psychology major appears in the academic calendar, okay? So there's the enrollment requirements at the top. Some things I like to signal right at the top of this is that first of all, it's a variable minimum grade. So there is a grade associated with this. It changes every single year. I'll explain that in a moment. But the other thing is there's 2 sets of requirements. There's requirements for students who completed 4 to 8.5 credits, and then another set for students who completed 9 or more. This means that there's different requirements depending on what part of your degree you're in. So if you're incoming with no transfer credits, you're going to look at the 4 to 8.5 credits, okay? That's your requirement. For students who might be in their second year already, who've completed 9 by the end of next year, you're going to have a different set. But let's focus on the first set, 4 to 8 point. Okay, first of all, let's signal that it is a limited program. Okay, that's good to know. Then let's look here. These are the requirements that Misha needs to look at. They are coming with no transfer credits, so this is their set. And so I see that psychology 100 is required. In the brackets, it says that they need to aim for at least 75% to be considered. Just know that that's not the grade to be competitive. That's just to be considered. If we look at the bottom, psychology acknowledges that you need to get somewhere between 78 and 79 from the past to be accepted into program. And it can change every year depending on the number of seats. So it is nice because they give us a little clue as to what the grade might be needed to get into psychology. So we know we need to take Psych 100. The other thing I like to highlight here is that Misha would have needed to take grade 12 calculus and grade 12 biology. If you're looking at psychology and you haven't completed, you'll just need to read through the academic calendar to find out how you can complete that. And psychology gives that options. The big thing I want to signal here is that you should read through everything in the academic calendar. If you want to get into the program, you need to understand exactly what your requirements are. And so looking at this, this is what I see here. So for the purpose of this this activity, for this assignment right now, we just need to figure out what is the course, and it's Psychology 100, okay? We also want to check out the completion requirements. And if we look at here, that as we can see, Psychology 100 is the only requirement needed for first year, okay? So that's helpful to know. Now let's switch to human geography major. Just like psychology, it's a limited enrollment program. This program also offers two different ways to complete the program enrollment requirements. This says Misha can either complete a half credit in GGR courses at the 100 or 200 level with a minimum grade of 67, or if they take one full credit in GGR courses at the same level, there's a lower threshold at 63. So that's good to know. Let's look at the completion requirements. If we look at here it says any two courses from that list are required for the completion requirements. So if we want to stay on track, if Misha wants to stay on track, I'd probably advise them to consider taking one full credit. I'm also circling this because Misha has a choice between all these courses to pick one credit from this. So that is helpful to keep in mind. Now let's look at the chemistry enrollment requirement. Again, it's limited. And here are the courses that Misha needs to take. So how I read this, the commas mean and the slash means or. So Misha either needs to take Chem 135 and Chem 136 or Chem 151. Okay. So now let's look at the completion requirement. And what's interesting here is that when we look at it here, there's still that same chemistry requirement, but there's also a math requirement. So that's good to keep in mind. And so again, I'm circling these because for the chem requirement and the math requirement, there is a choice between what courses, and Misha will need to research these courses to find out which one of them they should enroll into. So here is where I've listed, I find it helpful just to kind of list out the enrollment requirements and the completion requirements, because these are what indicate what we need to enroll into. So enrollment requirements are the ones we need to take in order to enroll into the programs. Completion requirements are the ones that are ideal, okay? So hopefully you can include the completion requirements as well. Okay, now when we talk about choosing between that list of programs, like which math, which chemistry, that is a big question here. You might be wondering which one we should take. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do is just check out the department website for that. Sometimes, not all times, department websites can be super helpful. So the example I like to give here, is the math department. The math department, if I go to undergrad and then go to a guide to first year mathematics, they're super helpful in giving us an idea of a summary about what each of the math courses cover and who it's directed to. So for instance, maybe some courses are directed to Rotman Commerce students. Maybe some are directed to students who want to do a math specialist or a major. Others might be directed to life science students. This gives us a good idea of what courses are best for us, okay? So that's super helpful. Now, the other one that's great is, so the other thing that you can do is you can also look at the 200 and 300 levels that you want to take, okay? So what I mean by that, there might be some, so if Misha goes on to do a chemistry major, there might be like a 200, 300 level course that they're really excited to take. It might be worthwhile looking at those prerequisites and seeing if there's any 100 level courses they need to take to enroll into those courses. And lastly, reading the course descriptions. Those are super helpful because, again, it just confirms that, yes, we're looking at the right course for us. It gives us a good idea of what the topics will be. And then it notes co-requisites and exclusions. Those are super important for enrollment as well. Again, though that might be a term that you might not know, don't worry, we'll get into that in a moment as we get to that point, okay? So now I want to just put it back towards Misha. How is Misha going to go through that? We're not going to cover psychology because psychology, there's that one course that they need to take, Psych 100. Okay, so we know that. But let's look at human geography. We know there's a set of requirements, okay? So Misha goes through the process. First, they look at the geography department website. And notice they don't have any instructions on what courses are appropriate. Okay, so that's interesting. So we'll have to find some other way to distinguish between the courses. They look at the academic calendar and they look at 200 level courses and notice there's no significant prerequisites that are required from the 100 level, but JEG is noted as a recommended preparation. Okay, so that's helpful. Basically, what this means is Misha needs to read the course descriptions and they can just pick the courses that most align with their interest. So in the end, Misha chooses JEG 100 and GGR 124. So they sound interesting and it's recommended preparation. Now let's look at chemistry, okay? So Misha looks at the chemistry department. The chemistry department does also provide some information about the different courses that are available and who it's directed to. And Misha noticed that Chem 151 is strongly recommended for students doing a major or a specialist, okay? So Misha wants to include that course. The math department also, as we've seen, provides a guide to first-year calculus courses. Misha learns that Math 157 and Math 137 involve more abstract math. And because Misha is not necessarily looking for that from their first-year courses, they also notice Math 135 and 136 is the default for science students. And because Misha is going to take a science course, they're going to lean towards Math 135 and 136. So Misha decides to take Chem 151, Math 135, and Math 136. Okay, so we listed the programs, noted the requirements. Now what we want to do is make a list of the full list of program courses and note the total number of credits. So here, Psych 100 is one, JEG 100 is, Psych, okay, I'll clarify, Psych is from the psychology major. JEG 100, GGR 124 is from human geography. Chem 151, Math 135, and Math 136 are all for chemistry, okay? That's a total of 3.5 credits. The way I calculated that, H courses are half credits, and the Y course, which is Chem 151, is a full year, one credit, okay? Okay, so now we know how much of their course load is going to be dedicated to programs. Now we want to maybe fill out that course load with some electives. So maybe breadth requirements might be a good idea. First, before we talk about that, I want to explain what is an elective course. So when we're talking about elective, it's a tricky thing to talk about because like what is an elective course might change, and I'll explain why it might be a little tricky. But first, basically an elective course is any course outside of your program requirements. So to recall, you need 20 credits to graduate. Your program requirements could take up anywhere from 10 to 16 credits of your full degree. So that means your electives could range anywhere from 4 to 10, okay? The reason why it's tricky is because we're not in programs yet. So we can't really look ahead towards the full degree and determine how many electives we'll have for our full degree. So an example is Misha has 3.5 credits that are working towards program interests. Misha knows that they're looking to complete 5 credits in their first year. So that means that they can determine that 1.5 credits will be used towards additional credits. However, let's say Misha gets to the end of their first year and realize they're not interested in human geography. They're going to just pursue psychology and chemistry. They found their love in those. They just love those subject areas so much. So what's interesting is those additional courses, JEG 100, GGR 124, end up being additional electives. So in hindsight, Misha took one more credit worth of electives than they had planned. So rather than looking ahead towards your full degree and trying to determine, okay, what your plan is, what the electives are, I mean, that might be a fun exercise and worthwhile doing, but I would probably advise at this point in time, just looking at your first year. Look at how many credits, how many, if you want to plan out your number, like look at your full course load and subtract the number of credits that are going to be used towards program exploration. That's going to be the amount of space left for your electives. Note that some programs may have more first year requirements than others. So an example is chemistry. They have both a full year's credit, a full credit's worth of chemistry and a full credit of math. That's 2 full credits right there. Well, psychology only has a half credit. So just note that some may have some more room than others. And then if you find that you have a lot of elective space, you can use it towards breadth requirements. If you don't, that's okay too, because breadth requirements are something you can complete by the time you graduate. You have the full time to work towards that. Now let's talk about that breadth requirement. Breadth requirements is a degree requirement. So if any of this is unclear, you can go to workshop 2 and get a little bit more of an in-depth look at this. Basically what it is that the university, the faculty wants you to take courses outside. You're going to naturally gravitate towards certain areas, and that might be certain categories. So the university wants you to have a breadth of knowledge, a breadth of categories. And so it kind of forces you to push beyond what you might be comfortable with, which is fun because we might be surprised by what we like. All of our courses fall within one of these 5 categories. When I think about this, creative and cultural representations, I like to think about that as maybe our Englishes or languages or fine arts, drama. Thought, belief, and behavior can be psychology and philosophy, society and its institutions like sociology, the social sciences, economics. Living things in their environments could be anything about biology or the environment. The physical and mathematical universes might be about physics, computer science, chemistry, and math. So you can complete this in 1 of 2 ways. You can complete 1 credit in 4 of the 5 categories and just ignore the last category, or you can complete 1 credit in 3 out of the 5 and a half credit in the remaining 2. So Misha wants to know how many, like where their programs fall into, okay? What programs? So when we look at Psychology 100, we notice that they have category 2. And you might be wondering, okay, how exactly do I find that out? So let's pop into the academic calendar. The academic calendar right here, if we go to the bottom, there's the course search. We can put in Psych 100, H1, great, apply. This gives us the course description. It lets us know if there's any prerequisites, which there isn't, but it lets us know breadth requirement. Okay, category 2. Okay, that's helpful. Okay, let's pop back to Misha. Okay, so there we are. So here we are with Misha. JEG 100 is category 5. GGR is category 3. Chem and math, that's category 5. So what I'm noticing here is what's missing is category 1 and 4. So if Misha wants to take courses for breadth, maybe they might want to consider category 1 and 4. So Misha ends up deciding to take English 100. So some action items from this part. Write out the list of courses you need for your programs. Determine how much space is in your course load and can be used towards electives. Outline what the breadth categories are for your courses, and then identify the breadth categories that are missing. You might be wondering, okay, so now how do I find courses that are fulfill these breadth requirements? So I think the easiest way is Timetable Builder. I'll give you a little tutorial on Timetable Builder, but basically Timetable Builder allows you to find what's available. And so you can search by using filters by the Show More Filters tab and find search by each breadth category there and by 100 or 200 level. The reason why we kind of encourage students to search within 100 level or 200 is because if you're taking courses that might be outside of your strengths or what you naturally gravitate towards, then you may want to take a course that might be directed to like more at the foundational level. The other way you could in Timetable Builder is by looking at departments. Maybe you've always wanted to take a language. So if it's, let's say you want to take a Spanish course, you can search by the search the Spanish department, find the 100 level courses and find the courses that you're most interested in. Ideally, just always remember, read the course descriptions. The course descriptions are super helpful because let's say you do want to take a chemistry for your BR. You want to make sure you're not, if you haven't taken grade 12 chemistry, or maybe you haven't taken, you just don't want to take a course that may be directed towards majors. You may be more interested in courses that are directed towards students who are fulfilling the breadth requirements. Sometimes the course description will signal that to you. It'll determine who it's directed to, and it'll also make sure that you're taking courses that you're interested in. Okay, so now we want to talk about how to choose your course load. So course load, Misha has decided to take 5 credits, which is, so that is considered a 100% course load. That's 2.5 credits per term. So the 5 credits is for the full fall, winter. So that number comes from, again, from the degree requirements. You need to complete 20 credits to graduate. When we think about our bachelor's, we usually think about completing it within a 4-year time frame. You don't necessarily need to, but some of us may have that in mind. And so if you are completing 20 credits and we're doing it within 4 years, that's 20 divided by 4 years, that's 5 credits per year. So that's where that number comes from. But just know that that number for course load is up to you. Some of us, like for instance, myself, I felt when I did my undergrad a while back, I felt 5 credits was a bit too much. I didn't like being rushed through it, the content. So I actually did 4 credits per term, which meant that I had to stay a little bit longer. Some of you may not necessarily want that, and that's okay. But some of you, maybe you have priorities like a full-time work schedule or part-time work or health concerns that you need to take care of or dependents. Whatever your situation might be, the 5 credit may not be for everyone, and that's okay. However, it is still good to keep in mind what is required. So 3 credits is considered full-time. The reason why I signal that is sometimes a full-time status is required for immigration purposes, or maybe for residence, or for funding purposes. So it's good to keep in mind what these credit thresholds are and what you need to keep and what the allowance is for being flexible. The other one I like to signal is that when you are enrolled in courses and you get your tuition, you pay a flat rate, a program fee. And so that's a flat rate, and it's directed to all students who are within 4 to 6 credits. What that means is that if you end up taking 4 credits, you're going to be paying the same amount as someone who's taken 5 credits or 6 credits. So it doesn't change your tuition too much if you aren't still taking 4 credits. It starts changing after if you lower it below 4 credits, okay? The other thing I want to highlight is that you'll be choosing courses for fall and winter on July 17th, okay? When we're talking about a really nice course load, we want it to be balanced. So let's say Misha first builds this one because the schedule works in a way that they really like. Psychology is with an instructor that they really wanted to take. As an academic advisor, I would signal you're taking 6 courses in fall. That may not be a good idea just because fall tends to be a time of transition, same with winter. So making sure taking more than the 100% recommended course load is not advisable. What we would tell is just try to balance it out as much as possible. This is a really nice timetable. Okay. Now I want to go into a timetable builder. Okay, so I'm just going to take one quick moment. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so timetable builder, this is how you kind of build your timetable. So just as let's say we're looking at geography courses right now. Misha, like it's nice to look at if we scroll down to the bottom, this is all the courses that Misha could take, which is really exciting, but not all of these courses are offered in each semester. So timetable builder filters out what's being offered right now. So the big thing we want to do is we want to make sure we are searching by the right session. So we want to select fall. And there's a lot of different faculties that use this tool. So you want to make sure you select Faculty of Arts and Science. In this case, Misha has some flexibility with what geography courses they can take for the human geography. So we're just going to search the whole department. And under Show More filters, this is where you can find the breadth category, scroll down to Arts and Science, and you can search by that. But in this case, they want to search by the 100 level course. So search here. When we look here, these are all the courses at the 100 level administered by the geography department. So the GGR, the first 3 letters indicate what program or what subject code, what subject area it is. The first one tells us that it's a 100 level course. The H lets us know it's a half credit, while Y is a full year course. The 1 here is actually super important. Some students might accidentally enroll in a 3 or 5. What that actually means, you're enrolled accidentally in a Mississauga or Scarborough course. So you want to make sure you actually enroll in courses that have a 1. And then the F and S. The F means first. So the first session, and first session of the fall winter is fall. S is the second session, so the winter term. So let's say Misha wants to take this course in the fall. We open it up and it lets us know all the different lectures and tutorials and practicals that they may need to apply. So if there is there's generally a lecture. Sometimes there's a tutorial and a practical. The tutorials and practicals are important to enroll into. They're not optional, so you'll have to enroll into that. You'll see the time and date, location, instructors, that's still to be determined. Whether or not there's availability in the course, if there's any people on the wait list, and then delivery mode and enrollment controls. Delivery mode, so it can be in person, which means you meet in person and the assessments are in person. It could be hybrid, which is a mix between in-person and online portions of it. There's online synchronous and online asynchronous. So online synchronous means that it's online, but you're meeting at a particular time online. Online asynchronous means that you have a little bit more flexibility about when you enroll, but there's still a time frame of when to complete assignments and readings. The big thing I like to highlight with online courses that you might still be required to be there for in-person assessments, so midterms or final exams, okay? So it's not completely remote, or rarely are they. Now the enrollment controls. So enrollment controls lets us know who has access to certain courses during the priority enrollment period, or just in general. So when we look at the first one, this says R1. So that signals to me that certain students are like, this section is restricted to certain people. So if we click show explanation, it lets us know. Okay, this one is restricted only to the students within the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering. So that means Misha will want to look at this, but this one has a P. And the P signals that this course is gives priority access to only certain groups of people during the priority enrollment period. So if we want to know if Misha is part of that group, then they can enroll starting July 17th. And Misha is. So this one has a list, and year one in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences included. So is upper year transfer students. So if you're not in this group, then, which I think the majority of you are, you're either year one or upper year transfer. But if you're not, then you'd have to wait to general enrollment period. Okay, so we're gonna add this. The other thing I like to look at is the more course information. Again, this gives us the course description. It lets us know if there's a prerequisite, which are courses Misha needs to complete before enrolling into this course. Co-requisites are the courses you might need to take at the same time or have completed previously. And exclusions are courses that if you've taken this in the past, then you won't get credit for this course. So if Misha took GGR 205 at the other campus, that means they can't get credit for this specific course. And the BR is here as well. All right, we've determined we want to take this course. So we've already added the lecture, and now we have to pick a tutorial. What's nice is we can click this show timetable right here, and it lets us know what it is. So what's really nice, I remember Misha needs to take English 100. So I'm going to, let's say they want, oh, it's not showing up because it's searching by geography. So search that. Okay. Tutorial. Great. It fits in right there. So it lets us know if there's a conflict. A big thing here is that, yes, a big thing here is that you aren't actually enrolling courses here. This is just a tool. This just helps you plan out a plan. The enrollment actually starts taking place in ACORN. Okay, so now let's switch back to our session. Okay, so these are the things we want to keep in mind when we're looking. We want to look at prerequisites, co-requisites, exclusions, delivery method, and enrollment control. All right, and so the one enrollment control I didn't bring up is you might see an E. That means that you won't be able to enroll during, the only way you can enroll is by permission through the department or the academic unit, so you'll have to get in touch with that academic unit. Oh, hi, is someone trying to talk? Just a reminder to mute if you can, just because it's a recording. We'll get to questions shortly, okay? All right, so now let's talk about that general versus priority enrollment period. So priority enrollment, as a reminder, is this when certain groups of students get priority access to certain courses. So starting July 17th, that's when you have your first day of priority course enrollment. That lasts until July 23rd. You have a maximum turn load of 2.5 credits, and for the full fall winter, that's 5 credits. Now, then starting July 25th, that's when priority enrollment controls lift. The other thing is then you get to enroll in 3 credits or 6 credits. So that might be helpful. Let's say if there's a course that's already full and you really wanted to get into it, then you can add yourself to the wait list, and that wait list will work towards your term load, but it gives you the flexibility to add wait lists. The other thing I've heard students do is they might enroll in 3 credits or 6 credits for the fall, winter, attend some of those courses in the first 2 weeks, and then make decisions. If they're caught between and they want some flexibility to know what the instructor is like or whatnot, then they can drop to 5 credits after a few weeks, okay? So that's an option too. So in terms of Misha may not have priority access to the chemistry course during the priority enrollment period, because they're not in a science admission category, so they'll have to wait till July 25th to enroll with the rest of students. Some reminders for ACORN when you're enrolling. You want to be aware of your start time, okay? So logging in July 1st finding out what date, what time you're enrolling. That's you enroll into ACORN. You want to make sure that you're enrolling at the right time because that gives you the best chance of getting the courses you want, the courses you need. You want to load your enrollment cart before your start date. The reason I say before is because you don't have access to ACORN the day of. You only have access during your window. So you want to actually, starting now up until then, you want to actually log in and you can start putting some courses in that enrollment cart so that when it comes to the first day, all you do is log in and you click enroll, 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 and then you're good to go. Another great piece of advice, check the availability of your courses the day before course enrollment. If it's looking like it's getting to be full, you might want to have some backup programs, okay? And then if you want to add more courses after July 25th, you can add up to 3 credits. The other thing I want to highlight is from July, like it's good to use July 17th, your first day of priority enrollment period, to get in the courses you need, the courses you want. But let's say Misha is like, I'm not really wanting to take English. I'd rather take a different course to fulfill that breadth requirement. They can switch it out and add something back in up until September. So not everything is set in stone. You still have some opportunities to change. So again, the course enrollment checklist can be super helpful. So first of all, congratulations. We spent like 50 minutes talking about course enrollment. We covered a lot of stuff. I encourage you just to take a look at the course enrollment checklist, which is in our Welcome to Woodsworth Quercus site. This can really help. If you go through it, it just makes sure that you think of all the other factors to include. The other thing I want to do is just take a moment to talk about a message from the Dean of Students. So the Office of the Dean of Students is actually, I'm just pulling up their information. So go to Woodsworth College. There we go. They're another office within Woodsworth College. So they're the ones that host orientation. They also have some excellent events for you to really have community within Woodsworth. One of them is the Summer E-Mentorship. So all of you are already invited to get in touch with upper year students. If you have any questions, I just want to highlight that some of us have parents who went to the university. Some of us have cousins or siblings or friends who've already gone who can give us information. Well, for me, when I came to the university, I was the first in my family to come to a bigger city. Some of us might be coming to Ontario for the first time or to Canada for the first time. So it might be nice to have just someone to bounce ideas off of, just to get an idea of what kind of information. And all of us have questions like, should we buy all the textbooks? Should we, what is it like going to orientation? Should I go alone? And the answer is yes, you should. You should always, if you can go to orientation, you should definitely. It's a great opportunity to meet people. You'll meet some wonderful people. But as an academic advisor, you're more than welcome to ask those questions, but sometimes the best people to ask are upper year students because they're living that experience, okay? If you want that experience to continue into first year, you can also sign up for first year. That one you're not automatically admitted, but you can actually sign up for, okay? So yeah, I think that is everything for right now. Okay, so this is how you can keep in contact with the Office of the Dean of Students. The first year mentorship program applications right there. And yeah, you can connect with them through their website, through Instagram. That might be a nice way to find out more about orientation activities too, or through Facebook, okay? I also wanna just highlight that we have workshop 4, all about finances, July 24th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So the QR code for our full list of workshops is right there. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you all for attending. If you have questions, anyone who's still here, please stay in our Zoom session for a little bit as I move to our Q&A portion. But for anyone watching, just know that if you have questions, you can email us at www.registrar@utoronto.ca. We also have a Q&A session that'll take place on July 16th. So you can always ask our questions there. So, all right. Thank you again. And I can't wait to meet you in September. Okay. Take care.